Good morning, everyone. It's Honey Lou. So I just feel like making a video, and so I guess I'm just gonna share what I've been up to. Um, and I wanted to share this deck. So it's the Saki Tarot. This is Haunted. This deck is out of print. It's by Monica Saki, and she is the creator of I Am the Artist Tarot. You could still get this deck. I was lucky to find this deck, but yeah, it's so cool. It's amazing. And this box is like really cool too. I love how colorful and crazy it is. This is like totally up my alley of what I love in art and what I'm attracted to, and I thought that was very cool that she sold decks like that. But yeah, this is the front card. Here's the reference card. I really love that the backs are very inconsistent like that, so it makes it really fun shuffling the deck. I just think it's so cool. I love it. I love the colors. Very colorful. And green is love. That's what I would say about this deck. But what's cool about the front is that it's the backs. So the backs are like printed on front. And that's why it's so green. And I guess this is what happens to decks when they first print decks. This is how they warm up their machines. And I think that's really cool to see that. And I love the size of this deck. So it's a little bit smaller than standard tarot size. So this is a standard tarot size, and then this one's a little bit shorter and skinnier. And I really love the size of this deck. Like, I feel like it fits perfectly in the hands, and it fits the aesthetic of this deck. Like, it makes it more unique and quirky and just different. So it definitely stands out. And I really love both versions of this deck. I like the Headless People. I am a huge fan of Monica's work, so I feel like these cards were made for me, honestly. That's how my view is on art. And this deck is just, it feels accepting and inspiring for me. I really love his face. I love this card too. This is probably like one of my favorite Temperance cards. I love the moon. And this cardstock is a little bit more papier than the, so this one is like a black core layer inside, and so it makes it kind of feel like rubbery. Like, it looks papery, but it's not. It's like rubbery feeling, and it's really indestructible, honestly. This one is, I worry about it sometimes because I love it so much, but I want to use it, and so I'm kind of like, I'd be careful with it. That's all I could say. I love that. I love this. Oh, it's so good. But this is the brain of Honey Lou. This is just something that's totally up my alley. I love this card too. I think it's just amazing. I love how dark this card looks, Justice, and I love that orange with the green. Like, it reminds me of kind of like the 60s. I like that orange color, like that burnt orange. I love it. But yeah, huge fan. I highly recommend, if you like Monica's work or if you find it attractive, I highly suggest getting the deck and getting the guidebook. The guidebook is really good. But anyways, so to I Am the Artist Tarot by Saki. I edged my deck. I'm not too sure how I feel about it because I don't really like the way it looks like this, but I love the way it looks when it's like this. Yeah, so I often like to just shuffle this deck and just look at the art and appreciate it, basically. But yeah, so I put that oil-based Sharpie on the edge of this deck, and then it was like a pink color, but it didn't match the deck at all, so I ended up, it was like a neon pink. So I put a yellow, like that Poshka marker yellow on it, but then it felt really powdery and it was getting all over my hand, so I took a Clorox wipe, and I wiped it all the way down so it doesn't do that to my hands anymore. And I wasn't too worried about it because I'm planning to like make this my Reckitt tarot, like you know those Reckitt journals. This is my Reckitt tarot basically, but it's indestructible. This cardstock is amazing, and yeah, it's gonna last. But yeah, I'm not too worried because I got this. I got a new copy of that, and I got the book, and the book is really good. I recommend that book. There's so much, it's packed with information, and like Hebrew letters, there's like keywords for the Hebrew letters, there's a bunch of stuff in that deck. That would be a really good beginner book, honestly. But yeah, I really love this deck, and it's totally suits my personality and my spirit. It's my inner child spirit, really. Just really love it. I love the Magician and the Empress. Temperance, wow, 3 of my favorite cards. One of my favorites. Another favorite. Another favorite. Oh my god, I just love all the cards. That's all I could say is I love it so much. I love the color palette. Yeah, it just makes me happy. I love all the movement and just color everywhere, and I love the borders and like how it looks. It's just so good. It's a soul deck for sure. And so I have like two inner child decks that I love to use. It's this one, and this is like fits in the category of inner child creativity work, and then my Playful Heart Tarot fits in the category of inner child emotional work. So like this is a very emotional deck, and it expresses emotions very well. But this one is just all about creativity and fire and passion, and this one's about emotions and acceptance and loving and nurturing and kindness. And so, yeah, love this deck so much. I was like on like this little kick of thinking, I'm like, well, what are my soul decks too? Like, and so I thought about like I Am the Artist tarot. I'm like, well, how come these ones I don't care, or I don't compare them to each other? Because I have the what is it called? It's like Rainbow Tarot or something, but I'm always like, no, I don't want to use that. I have this one. I'm gonna use this one. But this one, these are just too different for me. So yeah, I definitely figured out why they're so different, but they're both in the same category of inner child work. And this is for creativity, fire. This is for water, basically. But I feel like they're both really good with all the elements, but yeah. So the book. Let's just show the book real quick. So yeah, I had to get an extra copy, and because I love it that much. But anyways, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. There's like, how many pages? 257 pages. But there's so much stuff in here. So you see how it has like the Kabbalah right there, it has the astrology associations, and then it has the keywords, and then the Kabbalah Hebrew, and then it has all of this stuff in there. And yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I love learning about this stuff, and you could see how like the Tree of Life, there's a bunch of like little keywords and stuff in there, so it makes it really nice to figure out like what each spot is. So yeah, really good. And a bookmark. Okay, another deck that I've been using a lot is my Kazanler Tarot. I love this deck so much. I was actually I like to reread the Kazanler guidebook because I want to just really get to know this deck as best as I can, and I love Emo Kazanler's writing and the way he approaches tarot, and so like this is everything that I would picture like a tarot deck to be, or like how I would like visualize how I would want a deck, and it's awesome that I found a deck that is like that. The only surprising thing about this deck is like it has more Hungarian culture in this deck. There is different cultures in this deck, but it has more of that vibe, but I love it. So it really surprised me how much I loved like the Egyptians and the Hungarian culture. So beautiful and colorful, and learning more about it and just really appreciating just different cultures and stuff. And yeah, and this is a very like, it's a sweet deck. Like it's made for white magic basically, not for dark. It's made for like white magic. How else can I describe it? But anyways, yeah, this is just what I would envision how I'd want a tarot deck for myself to read with, and it's nice to find a copy of a deck that I just really, really love, and all the colors, and it's so good. There's so much symbology, and yeah. I'm trying to like figure out how to like describe this deck without saying the same things over and over again too. But yeah, anyways, it's just a deck that I really, really love, and how I view things and how I like my art and my aesthetic and my style of what I want to see in a tarot deck. And I like how it's not so realistic, but it's kind of like abstract art in a way, but there's just so much going on and so much beauty in all these cards. And mine's getting disheveled, is that what you call it? But I love it that way. I think it looks really beautiful. So yeah, I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. This deck feels good. I love the gold borders. I love how like old it's like looking, and the aged look. The card stock is not the greatest because it's not, it ages pretty quick. I didn't have this deck for that long. I had this deck for maybe 8 months. But yeah, it's a favorite. I would consider this deck as one of my soul decks too. And I can't imagine life without this deck. I'm extremely attached to my decks. Like I have a certain amount of decks that I really love and I am attached to, and I think it's beautiful. And I just love being in my own little world of my decks. Like it's just, I don't know. I love learning. I love how much I've learned using these decks, and yeah. Okay, so another thing I've been using is a Jean Noble Tarot. I really love this deck. I think it's so cute and so quirky, and it's really good. I'm happy that I bought it. I wasn't too sure about it, but it really surprised me and how well it reads. I love the size. I love the corners. It's a little bit thicker cardstock, but it's so good. And like the ground, it's just so colorful. And like Marseille, I was like trying to think of like, how they have their own colors. Like there's a certain color palette that Marseille has. And I was trying to like think like, was it because they only had those colors back in the day? Like they had just the red, blue, yellow, and green. But then I was like kind of like thinking about it. I was like, hey, those are kind of like the element colors. So the red's fire, green is earth, blue is water, and yellow is air. And so I thought about that. Yeah, really cool. I love the faces. I love this card so much. I get so excited when I get this card. And Strength, the World, Temperance. I love the Emperor. I love everything about this deck. Oh, it's so good. I love this Queen of Pentacles. So I just found out lately that I am the Queen of Pentacles according to my birth date. But I always considered myself as a Queen of Wands because I am a Sagittarius stellium. Like, I have 3 placements of Sagittarius. So I'm pretty much all Sagittarius, but my birthday is December 16th, and so that makes me a Queen of Pentacles according to Thoth. So I've been trying to like work with that archetype a little bit and like kind of, because I always felt like the Queen of Wands suits me well with even like my life experiences, and yeah, even with the King of Wands too, or the Knight of Wands and the Thoth. Okay, what else have I been doing? Oh, since we're talking about Marseille, I've been using this deck. It's Tarot de Marseille, Jean Donnell. This deck is out of print. These 2 are out of print, I think. I don't know. I found them on eBay. I love how large this deck is, and I love the cardstock. It's nothing special, but it's very special. It's just a good cardstock that you're, to use all the time. Like, it's gonna last and age really good, and I just love how big it is because I have big hands. I'm 6 foot, and so I just love big cards and the energy that big cards have. And it's really funny because I used to always just like want big cards, and I love that I've been kind of exploring more smaller cards, like this one, like I really love, and I love this one, and I love my Kazanler tarot. Like, that was like the only thing I was kind of worried about with this card, or when I first saw it, I was like, ooh, I love it, and I'm like, it's so colorful, but like, I'm like, it's so small, like, am I gonna like it? Is it gonna fit good in my hand? But I'm really glad that I gave it a try, because this fits perfectly in the hands, and then this fits perfectly in the hands, and so does this. But like my tin decks don't fit really good in my hands. I have a hard time using tin decks. I wish they like made decks, like they made tins for standard size tarot decks. That would be awesome. That'd be like the coolest thing ever. The only tin deck that I have that is standard is the was it Serpent and Peacock Tarot? But anyways, yeah, I love this deck. I just think it's fun to shuffle, and I love how bold it is because you could really read, and you're not going to miss anything on this deck. It's just really good, and it's fun to see Marseille blown up like this. There's a lot of dawdle decks out there, like reproductions of that deck, but I think this is one of my favorite reproductions for sure. But I do love the Tarot Jean Donnell by Cartogram too. This one's really cool. It's a little bit more messier, but I think I prefer like the more clean line look. Yeah, because most of my favorite Marseille decks are cleaned up, and yeah, I guess it's more comforting that I could see what I'm looking at better, and it kind of disturbs me a little bit when it's a little bit messy and I can't see. Okay, but that surprised me that I prefer that kind of deck, because I love my Saki, and I love the color and craziness, and it just depends, I guess. Maybe because it's a certain color palette, maybe. But I love the backs too. and I can compare it to a standard size. So it's quite large, but I don't have issues with shuffling it. I heard a few people, like I watched a few walkthroughs before I did this, or I bought this deck, and a few people said they couldn't wrap their hands around it, but I could wrap it really good, so. Fabulous. Another deck that I've been using, let's talk about this deck. So, the Terrestrial Tarot. I've been trying to sell this deck forever. So the funny thing about this deck is that I bought it because I was curious about it, because, you know, it was like the funny people, crazy faces. And once I got it, I was like, oh, no, it's not colorful enough. Like, I like my colorful decks. If I want a silly deck, I could just go get my Tapestry Tarot. And so I tried to resell it, and nobody would buy it. And so I ended up just being like, oh, I'm going to keep it. I'm just going to work with it, because the person who I bought it from was like, oh, the deck found you. You didn't find the deck. And words really stick in your brain, you know? So I always remember that. Like, she was like, oh, the deck picked you. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And so when I was selling, I'm like, but the deck picked me. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to pick it up, because this is not really my, like, the colors, it's dark. And so I finally just decided to work with it, and I've been doing the elements. I've been reading the guidebook. The guidebook is really good. And so it's cool because it has like the, you know, has the elements right here, these cards. And then, so it will tell you what it means in the fire phase. So you put, so we'll just pretend, okay? You put the cards down like that, and then so if I got air with earth, I would just look at this, and then it will tell me what it means in that phase, which is really cool because I like to do like elemental spreads. And so I've been finding this guidebook really useful for my practice. And yeah, I've been having a lot of aha moments, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be my shadow work deck. So let's just look at it. So I'm glad that I gave it a chance. I didn't sell it because it's like something I thought I wasn't going to grab. The card stock is really good. But yeah, I choose it to be my shadow deck. So far so good. I love this card. I think my favorite card is the Wheel of Fortune and the Sun. But it is good. I just thought that I couldn't find a spot for this deck, but I did. So I gave it a chance. And I was like really unsure about selling this deck because I was like, so the funny thing too is about like when I was selling decks, I sold all the decks that I was for sure about, and then the decks that I was like kind of like, I don't know, those are the ones that I still have. So and it's funny because I got to keep the ones that I was unsure about selling, but wanted to sell just because I would prefer to try a different deck over this one, and I gave it a go. But yeah, I love this card, and great way to learn about the elements. I like to do that 9-card spread too. It's like that 9. You do the past, present, future, fire, air, water, earth, and then what's working for you, what's not working for you. That was like one of the first spreads that I did all the time when I first started with tarot, and that's like the one I know the best. But it's really good that I got this guidebook so I can kind of get the idea of what the blending of, kind of alchemy, blending the 2 elements and what does that make. And I've been doing that quite a bit lately. I've been learning about alchemy and kind of like the tarot associations, like how does Venus in Aquarius makes, like how does that blend that certain card or that meaning or association. So yeah, love this deck. I'm glad that it picked me, obviously. So I picked it back. And I don't have a shadow work deck. I just use my Thoth deck, and I was like, oh, that's good enough. That's my favorite deck, so it's the deck I claim for everything. It's my inner child, my shadow work, my everyday, my go-to. But this one I am picking as a shadow work deck. Not a soul deck, though. Just a shadow work deck. Okay, what else can I show you? Oh, okay, so I've been working with Thoth. Let me just share real quick. So I have this Thoth. This was my first Alistair, or my first Thoth deck that I got, and I wrote all over it. So you could see I just wrote all over it. I think it looks cool. But anyways, I retired this deck because I outgrown the associations I put on it. So when I was first starting out, I wasn't like too intimidated. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna write all over like Rider-Waite-Smith associations on the Thoth, and then I'm gonna kind of, you know, but I did all that, so I outgrown it. And the funny thing is I put the outgrow yourself associations on, like, you know how they have it. I watched someone's video and I paused and then I wrote it on the card so I can kind of get the, you know, but yeah, because I didn't want to buy the deck because I didn't think I was going to use it that much, and so I was like, oh, but I want to like work with the titles, so I ended up just writing it all over these cards, and sorry not sorry, it was cool. But anyways, so I retired this deck, and now the first greenie that I ever purchased, I wrote on this deck, and I'm going to try to write away from the art or the card, you know, the art, and just write on the titles, but make sure I don't get it on here, because if I outgrow what I write on the sides, I'm going to cut it and just keep it, because I like how big the art is on these cards. But I've been just putting the planets, and the planet, so Saturn means ambition, and then Taurus is material vowels, and then, you know, and then I put the Sibylla association, and then I put the tree of life and what that means, and just seeing how it all blends. And this was kind of like shadow work too for me, because I had like a lot of aha moments when I was doing this, because now I'm kind of moving up a little bit in my practice and learning more and wanting to learn more. And this is how I learn, is like I have to look at something every single day. Eventually it'll kind of just stick, but it takes a little while for me. I'm not a fast learner. Like, I can't really absorb things. Like, I can't just read a book and instantly remember every little thing that's in it. I have to constantly go back, because that's just how my brain works. But anyways, so this was like a stalker card for me for a long time, and I knew the meaning of it, like, you know, self-sabotage, just kind of like in that survival mode, flight or fight, attacking kind of mode, but I wanted to dig a little bit deeper, like, what does this card really mean to me? Like, you know, like, yeah, so I was just trying to like learn more. But the funny thing is so I looked at my birth chart, and I've been using the what is it called? Okay, yeah, Oracle of the Radiant Sun. And so I was looking at my birth chart too, and then kind of matching up what cards in the tarot is my birth cards. And this is my Venus card. This is my love card. This is how I love. And the meaning of this card is detachment. And I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense, because, like, and then I read about what it means in this, and it's pretty much kind of like Aquarius, Venus in Aquarius is like a person that likes to kind of be really creative, kind of be in their own little world. They like to kind of be stimulated with their brain and learning more, and just you know, loving to do creative stuff that stimulates them. And that's so true. And I would have, you know, some relationships where it was like kind of hard, and sometimes it would make me feel bad, but I can't help the way I am. Like, I need my space to grow and to learn. And, you know, if someone's trying to take me away from that, it really aggravates me. And I'm like, can you go find a hobby, you know? Like, but that's just how my personality is, and that's how it always was. Like, even like company I have, I can't be an entertainer. I don't like to entertain people. I like people that we could just hang out and not talk. That's how I am, basically. Like, you do your thing and I do my thing, but let's like have our energy together, but we're being happy, just being in the presence of each other, but just being able to be ourselves and do our own things and enjoying doing our hobbies. And yeah, and I'm a homebody too. Like, I just want to be someday a wife with a house. I want a man to buy me a house, or, you know, and I want to have my little craft room. I want to have my tarot room. You know, I want to have like a bunch of books, and I just want to be a housewife, basically. I want to decorate my house, and I want, you know, that's what I visualize for myself, but obviously it's not happening for me yet, but it's okay, because now I'm growing and learning, and I'm working on myself, and I'm really just loving the single life and not worrying about other people, and just feeling complete by myself and not looking for anything or even being with anybody. I'm happy like just being a hermit. And I've been like this for maybe over a year now, year and a half, and I'm not ready to date anybody yet. But anyways, I'm learning, doing shadow work about the pros and cons of how I am and how my brain works, and how can I be better even if I'm like that, and just kind of working with that energy and figuring out how to compromise. And even with my children too, like Julian, he's very social, my son, and he loves to be outside, he loves to be around people and company, and I'm not like that, so I feel really bad. So like throwing a birthday party for him would be kind of hard, because I'd have to be all people-y, and I have to decorate and have a bunch of people around, and that's just not that's not how I get energized, but that's how he gets energized. So trying to figure out how to like work with that and accept that's how I am, and accept that's how he is, and like just figure out how we could have a good love language, you know? But yeah, okay. So another deck that I've been working with is the I keep calling it Herbcraft or Tarot. I've been pulling like 5 cards a day and just reading in the guidebook, that's it. I love the way the cards feel. This deck makes me want to eat healthy and drink a bunch of water and learn about plants. I've been actually looking online, on YouTube, watching people with beautiful gardens and plants, and watching them make their own loose leaf tea and cutting up their plants, and just stuff like that. And it's just, I'm fascinated. I want to eventually learn more about herbs and growing herbs, making my own tea. And yeah, I'm a big tea drinker. I used to be a big tea drinker, but now I'm just coffee. But this deck is really good. I highly recommend it to anybody who feels called to it and wants to learn about plants. It's a good starter point, I feel. I have a lot of essential oils, like doTERRA essential oils. Maybe someday I'll show you guys my collection. It's pretty big, but yeah. I need to purchase more. Like, I like frankincense, and I love there's a breathing one. I forgot what it was called, but I haven't bought doTERRA essential oils in a long time, but I used to have a huger collection than I have now. But I love tea tree, frankincense, I love lemon, I love, I'm trying to remember, but those are like my main ones that I love. The breathing one too. There was like a blend that for breathing, asthma. Okay, what else have I been doing? I've been learning Lenormand. I ended up writing on these because I was tired of looking in the guidebook all the time. And there's like a lesson or a exercise where she wanted us to kind of use these and make a sentence. So that's where I'm at with my Lenormand. And I decided, since this is like my beginner Lenormand deck, I'm just going to write on it and then I'll buy a new one because they're not that expensive. They're like under $15. So yeah, I just wrote on it because that's how I learn. I need to see the keyword and eventually it just sticks. But yeah, I love this. I've been reading Rana George's book. I mentioned that a few times. Really good. Highly recommend that book. I can't wait to get my Lenormand deck. What else? I'm trying to think of what else have I been doing. I guess I could tell you the books I've been reading. Or I've been rereading. I've been rereading the Kazanler guidebook. The Saki Tarot is really good. I'm reading Understanding Tarot Courts by Mary K. Greer and the Book of Thoth. Also, there is a YouTube channel that I like to reference Thoth on. It's called Left Hand Path on YouTube, and he has a playlist where he goes through all the symbolism on the Thoth card, and I find that an easy way to remember stuff like that because I want to really master the Thoth. I've been reading Oracle of the Radiant Sun and just picking up guidebooks basically. But that's it. Okay, I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for watching. Bye.